Okay, good morning, dear students. Nidhu, Akif, Manas B, Akanksha, Ans, Sania, Omkar, Arpita, Arya, Bhargavi, Neeraj, and Madhu. Okay, good morning to each one of you. So today, as some more students have joined on YouTube, so that is why I would like to begin the lesson from the scratch. Okay, from the very beginning. So let's begin our lesson for the day. Okay, so I'll just go a bit quickly here. This part. Uh, we are not afraid to die if we can all be together, right? So here the narrator, Captain Gordon Cook, is in the company of his wife. He is going on a family trip around the world. Okay, so he's going on a family trip around the world uh, in the sea. Okay, so therefore there might be a lot of challenges. There are of course many challenges in the sea because of turbulence of the waves and all that. So a situation came in their journey in the ship. A situation came when they were almost certain that the ship will sink and they will die. They were almost certain, but somehow with their committed effort, with their promptness, and with their presence of mind, somehow they could manage to avoid the disaster, right? So that is why the title has been given, we are not afraid to die if we can all be together. If we are not afraid to die if we can all be together. So if we are all together, we are not afraid to die. So that the title itself shows that they were very much committed, and they had very good team spirit. Okay, which is required because if you are working on a team, we need to have a very good team spirit, right? So let's find out what happens very quickly, because I finished it yesterday, but some of you were not there. That's why I'm going very quickly. Okay, so please do pay attention. As you can see, dear students, here in July 1976, my wife Mary, son Jonathan, who is 6 years old, and daughter Susan, who is 7 years old, and I. The narrator is saying, that is narrator here is Gordon Cook. He is saying he in July 1976, his wife Mary, his son Jonathan, who is 6 years old, and daughter Susan, who is 7 years old, they started sailing from Plymouth inland to duplicate the round the world voyage made 200 years earlier by Captain James Cook. For the longest time, Mary and I, a 37-year-old businessman, the narrator is a 37-year-old businessman. He had dreamt of sailing in the wake of the famous explorer, and for the past 16 years, they had spent all their leisure time in honing their seafaring skills in British waters. Okay, so for such a huge round the world voyage means a journey by sea, that is called voyage. So for such a huge round the world journey in the sea, they required a lot of practice. Okay, so they took 16 years in kind of making the boat, preparing for a huge boat, and that too, the boat has to be very strong and stout. Then the narrator spent time in also honing his skill. Honing means sharpening his skill of navigation through water in the sea, right? So they took 16 years to prepare themselves for such a huge round the world tour in sea, right? Which Captain James Cook was credited to have made 200 years earlier, right? 200 years earlier. Now, next you see our boat walker. Now the narrator has given us information. The narrator has given us the information about how he has made the wave walker. Okay, how wave walker was prepared actually, right? Our boat Wave Walker, a 23-meter, 30-ton wooden hulled beauty, had been professionally built, and we had spent months fitting it out and testing it in the roughest weather we could find. The first leg of our planned 3-year, 105,000-kilometer journey passed pleasantly as we sailed down the west coast of Africa to Cape Town. So, dear students, as you can see here, the name of the boat or ship is Wave Walker, which was professionally built and it was very heavy. And they spent a lot of time in fitting different parts and all that. And they also tested it in the roughest of weather before they could eventually start sailing. Okay, eventually start selling. So the first leg of their planned 3-year journey that went up very peacefully. Okay, like 105,000 kilometer journey, 105,000 kilometer journey. Like comprising of 3 long years, went up very peacefully, right? But the problem started in their journey when they started proceeding toward from or beyond Cape Town. Till Cape Town, there was no problem in journey, right? They started from Plymouth, England, until Cape Town, there was no problem. There, before heading east, we took on 2 crewmen. So from Cape Town, they have taken American Larry Vigil and Switch Herb Sigler to help them tackle one of world's roughest seas, the Southern Indian Sea. Ocean. Southern Indian Sea, or the Southern Indian Ocean, is one of the very deadliest, seas. That is why they have taken 2 more sailors with them. One is American Larry Vigil, and another is Switch Herb Sigler. Right. Next, on our second day out of Cape Town, we began to encounter strong gales. Gales means wind. For the next few weeks, they blew continuously. For the next few weeks, they were blowing continuously. The wind was blowing continuously. Gales did not worry me, but the size of the waves was alarming, up to 15 meters, as high as our main mast. So, what worried the narrator? What worried the narrator was not, dear students, was not the gales. Gales mean strong wind, right? So what the narrator was not the wind, but the size of the waves, which was alarming. It was up to 15 meters, as high as our main mast. So there, the size of the waves were very much frightening in nature. Okay, not the strong wind, but the size of the waves, because the waves became or went as high as their main mast. Mast, you must be knowing, no? Uh, there are different parts of the sea. Okay, so that needs to be demonstrated to you. I should demonstrate you. Okay, so December 25 found us 3,500 kilometers east of Cape Town. Okay, so December 25th, they have reached 3,500 kilometers east of Cape Town. Despite atrocious weather, we had a wonderful holiday complete with a Christmas tree. Okay, so as you know, this ship is like a uh, community hall. It's like a uh, it's all the privileges, all the amenities were there inside that hugely built ship, that is Wave Walker. Right. So they have celebrated Christmas on inside the ship, on board the ship itself. Right. So they said December 25, they have traveled 23,500 kilometers east of Cape Town, and despite a very rough weather condition, atrocious weather, we had a wonderful holiday complete with a Christmas tree. New Year's Day saw no improvement in the weather, but we reasoned that it had to change soon, and it did change but for the words. Okay, so from Christmas holiday, Christmas Day till New Year's Day, there was no change in the weather. There was no improvement in the weather. There was some change in weather, but that change was for the worse, not for the better. And then when they celebrated New Year and Christmas and New Year, what happened? 2nd of January, there something happened. Okay, so let's find out what happened on 2nd of January. It was a huge. It was very deadly, you can say. It was very deadly on 2nd of January because they met with a very frightening experience in the sea. Met with an absolutely frightening or deadly experience. Okay, so dear students, see, at dawn on January 2nd, the waves were gigantic. Gigantic means, dear students, very huge. The waves were huge. We were sailing with only a small storm jib. Okay, jib is something like storm jeep is something like a boat, like small boat. Okay, like in case of an emergency for rescue, okay, from the ship, jeeps are used actually. Okay, so we were sailing with only a small storm jeep and we are still making 8 knots. Okay, 8 knots means it is the measurement of distance in the sea. Okay, distance in the sea, nautical miles they say. Nautical miles, like the distance is measured in terms of knots. As the ship rose to the top of each wave, we could see endless, enormous seas rolling towards us, and the screaming of the wind and spray was painful to the ears. Okay, so spray was painful to. Spray means, you can say, the spray of the waves. Okay, like you can say the like the watery part, like the foam part. You can say the foam type of part of the wave is called spray, right? The spray was very painful to the ears. To slow the boat down, we dropped the storm jeep and lashed a heavy mooring rope in a loop across the stern. So they wanted to protect against the protect themselves against the wind actually. Okay, so like for example, the weather became very atrocious, dear students, and moreover there was a lot of winds. Can you imagine, uh, inside the, like into the sea, there was a lot of like weather became very much scary, and the wind was blowing like anything. Okay, uh, and here you can see that like okay, so let me tell you, our dear students, here, as you can see, here, small storm jeep here refers to the sail, actually sail of the, you can say, the ship. Okay, so a small sail in front of the large sail on a boat, that is called jeep actually. Okay, so why is the jeep used in the ship? Why the small sail used in the ship? It is used to thwart the direction of the wind, to prevent the inflow of the wind actually. Okay, because like if there is lot of wind, if there is lot of wind, in that case it will be difficult for the ship to go ahead, right? So in order to prevent the coming of the wind, inflow of the wind, the GB is capped actually. Okay, in front of the huge sail, there is a small sail which is capped actually. Okay, so that is what is the meaning of jeep actually. Jeep means a small sail in front of the large sail on a boat. Boat here refers to the ship here actually. Okay, so there is a large sail in the ship, but Ahead of that large sail, there is a small sail, just to avoid the inflow, just to prevent the inflow of the incoming wind. So that is what is the meaning of jib. Okay, now let's see. Okay. Then you see, to show the boat, and then what happened as the ship rose to the top of each wave, we could see endless, enormous seas rolling towards us, and the screaming of the wind and the spray was painful to the ears. To slow the boat down, we dropped the storm jeep. Okay, um, they dropped the storm jeep and lashed a heavy mooring rope in loop across the stern. Then we double lashed everything, went through our life raft drill, attached lifelines, donned whale skins and life jackets, and waited. So they have slowed down their ship, and they were ready to uh, they were ready to sort of like rescue themselves, for the rescue. They have put on whale skins, and life jackets, everything. Okay, so that they can be ready for rescue in case the boat sinks. Okay, or the ship sinks. Okay, the first indication of impending disaster came in about 6 p.m. The first indication of impending disaster came at about 6 p.m. with an ominous silence, very strong silence in the evening. What happened? The wind totally dropped and the sky immediately grew dark. So, can you imagine in the evening? Now at night, there will be a lot of problems. Now at night, it's going to be the evening, and then there was absolute silence. The disaster struck at that time. Impending disaster. Impending means coming. Okay, impending disaster was about to strike. The wind dropped, and the sky immediately grew dark. Okay, the wind dropped, and the sky immediately grew dark. Then came a growing roar, and an enormous cloud towered aft of the ship. With horror, I realized that it was not a cloud, but a wave like no other I had ever seen. It appeared perfectly vertical and almost twice the height of the other waves, with a frightful breaking crest. So, what happened? You can see here, the first indication was the fact that the wind stopped blowing. There was no wind. Then it became too silent, and then sky started becoming absolutely dark. So these are some of the signs of impending disaster. Then came a growing roar, and an enormous cloud towered over the ship. Aft of the ship means over the ship. What happened? Enormous cloud started, covering the atmosphere. With horror, I realized that it was not a cloud, but a wave like no other I had ever seen. But then he could realize that it is not the cloud, it is the wave. Okay, because the wave has become so gigantic that it has covered the entire ship and made everything dark. Okay, so with horror, I realized that it was not a cloud but a wave like no other I had seen. It appeared perfectly vertical and almost twice the height of the other waves. Okay, it was very, very tall, very high waves with a frightful breaking crest. And when it is breaking, the waves are breaking after the ultimate rise, then there was a huge sound. So that is why, with a frightful breaking crest, the roar increased. The roar increased to a thunder as the stern moved up the face of the wave front part. Okay, the roar increased to a thunder as the stern moved up the face of the wave, and for a moment I thought we might ride over it. But then a tremendous explosion shook the deck, okay, deck of the ship, right, like floor of the ship. A torrent of green and white water broke over the ship. My head smashed into the wheel, and I was aware of flying overboard and sinking below the waves. I accepted my approaching death, and as I was losing consciousness, I felt quite peaceful. So the water started entering the ship. That is when he became unconscious, and let's see what happens now. The so what we've learned, what we have found here, like the water started sneaking into the ship. Water started flowing into the ship, right, entering the ship. Unexpectedly my head popped out of the water a few meters away. Wave walker was near capsizing. Okay, so unfortunately, unexpectedly, what happened? His head popped out of the water. He became unconscious out of fear. And then a few meters away, wave walker was near capsizing. It was near capsizing, almost drowning. Her masts almost horizontal. Then a wave hurled her upright. And then a wave came and made it again upright. My lifeline jerked taut. Taut means straight. I grabbed the guardrails and sailed through the air into Wayworker's main boom. Subsequent waves tossed me around the deck like a rag doll. My left ribs cracked, my mouth filled with blood and broken teeth. Somehow I found the wheel lined up the stern for the next wave and hung on. Means he's he has got a hit actually inside the ship. Okay, so that is why his mouth was almost filled with blood, and then he experienced some broken teeth also. Somehow he found the wheel, lined up the stern for the next wave, and hung on. Okay, uh, because the waves, one wave after another, was coming, and you know the ship was almost sinking. At that condition, he lost his consciousness, so he was being floated around. He was floating around one place to another because of water around. Water everywhere. I could feel that the ship had water below, but I dared not abandon the will to investigate. Okay, otherwise he might again get injured. So he got stuck to the wheel. Suddenly, the front hatch was thrown open, and Mary appeared. Front hatch, the door was open. Mary appeared. We are sinking, she screamed. The decks are smashed. We are full of water. Take the wheel, I shouted as I scrambled for the hatch. Larry and Harp were pumping like madmen. They were pumping water out of the ship. Broken timbers hung at crazy angles. The whole started to a big bump above her eyes. I had no time to worry about dump heads. After finding a hammer, screw, and canvas, I struggled back on deck with the starboard side best open. We were taking water with each wave that broke over us. If I couldn't make some repairs, we would surely sink. Then the narrator thought that if he did not make any repair, then he will surely he will sink. Okay, so they will now uh, focus on repairing. Okay, now you see, somehow I managed to stress canvas, secure waterproof hatch covers across the gaping holes. There were some holes also through which water was coming inside. Some water continued to stream below, but most of it was now being deflected over the side. They were pumping, and with the help of the electric pump also they are deflecting water over the side. More problems arose when our hand pumps started to block up with the debris floating around the cabins, and the electric pump short circuited. The water level rose threateningly. The water level was rising and rising, even though they are pumping water out of the ship. Back on deck, I found that our two spare hand pumps had been wrenched overboard along with the forestay sail. So I'll show you tomorrow the picture of all these forestay sail, the jeep, okay, all this anchor, all this. Then I remembered we had another electric pump under the chart room floor. So what is a chart room? I shall show you with illustration. I connected it to an outpipe and was thankful to find that it worked. The night dragged on with an endless, bitterly cold routine of pumping, steering, and working the radio. Radio means your radar, okay? We are getting no replies to our Mayday calls, which was not surprising in this remote corner of the world. Mayday calls also, I shall let you know, dear students, what is a Mayday calls. Okay, it's like the radar actually. They get connected over the satellite, but as they came in the remote part, so it was very difficult to get connected over satellite through through the radar also. Suze had stolen alarmingly. She had two enormous black eyes, and now she showed us a deep cut on her arm. When I asked why she hadn't made more of her injuries, before this, she replied, I didn't want to worry you when you were trying to save us all. Right? So Sue was experiencing more injury actually. Okay, her head has become swollen alarmingly, and she had two enormous black eyes and another deep cut on her arm. Okay, so she did not want to disturb her father. That is why she did not bring the matter to his knowledge, because her father was already busy in rescuing others. Okay. So dear students, we shall continue till this point here today. Okay. So dear students, that's it for the day. Tomorrow I shall continue. Okay, from where I have ended today. Okay. So dear students, you please do text me P before you log out of this channel, and we shall certainly continue this lesson tomorrow. And I shall find out the illustration page for you, because both terminology you need to learn actually, dear students. Okay, so I shall teach you the both terminology. I shall work on finding the relevant images for you, so that you come to know different parts of the boat. Right. So, dear students, thank you so much, and till we meet tomorrow, bye bye, take care, and have a great day. I'm winding up here, dear students. Yeah, you can just text me P so that I understand. I can take your attendance. Okay, you can just text me P. I'm developing an Excel sheet, dear students, so the this problem will be resolved. Right. So please do text me with a P so that I can take up your attendance. Okay, thank you, Omkar. Thank you so much. And please do update your notebook also. Whatever lessons I have completed, the first two lessons, one prose and one poetry, you please do update these lessons, okay, on your English notebook, right? So that your work doesn't get piled up. Thank you so much, Akif and others. Bye bye. Take care.